Welcome back to the channel, guys. This week we're just going to do a quick Avic update. So for people that have been following the channel for a while, you will know we've had a bit of a roller coaster ride up and down with our Avics. We picked up our first ever Avicularia spider at from So Many Legs, and this was back in 2021, start of 2022, as a sort of like small juvenile size spider. Maybe a little bit bigger than small juvenile, but she wasn't very big, unsexed at the time. And we picked that up. I think it was our 5th ever spider, and we picked that up the same day as we picked up a Balfouri and a couple of other spiders from So Many Legs. Went over to see Andy, so that was pretty cool. Obviously that spider then turned out to be female, and in looking at her size and the way she had molted, at the start of 2023 I went to the Southeast Arachnid show and I was talking to Luke from Spark Spiders. He had a couple of mature males that were still there at the very end of the day, so I took them off him. We had those both off of him, and we decided to see about pairing her. Now, we paired her a couple of months later, at the start of 2023, and then obviously she did lay a sack, and later on in the year we had our first egg sack, and there was a few that seemed okay in there. Unfortunately they passed. We then had Nemo, which seemed to be the sole survivor from the sack. There is a video on that, and unfortunately Nemo then did pass away. There is a video on that if you fancy going and checking that one out. We then let her be for a while, the larger female, and she eventually molted sort of October time in 2023, which meant that we could start looking again early, or later on in the year, early start of 2024, to pair her again. Now, we did lose one of the males in that time. Unfortunately, he passed away, and they had quite a long life. Luke was quite amazed at how long they had actually been alive for when I told him that that one had passed. The other one was still going okay, and unfortunately that one then passed away sort of early 2024. But fortunately, my good friend Jay, he managed to pass me over a mature male, which was brilliant. Looked in really good condition. He was a good size as well, and we paired him with the Avic at the start of this year. Now, she then obviously had the sack, and I decided, because of what happened with the previous sack, to leave the sack with her. But then after 85 days of her holding on to it, we were like, this isn't going to be viable, we'll see what happens, and we pulled it. And there's another video on this, I think called Pulling the Sack. Yep, I did call it that. And we had a few nymphs, and we had a few eggs with legs, so we nursery potted most of those, and we moved these ones that looked like slings into pots. I think we had 19. That number has dwindled a little bit because there were some that were like half the size of the others. I mean, considering it had been 85 days, we weren't expecting any, and we still, as of today, the 27th of September, we have 9 babies left. But they are, and you'll see them in a little while, they are doing quite well. We're going to feed them today, and they're okay size. I mean, they're still small, so we're trying to feed them up, but yeah, they're doing all right. So we also still have the male, and the female, actually, and the reason I'm doing this video this week is the female has actually molted yesterday. So she's looking good, and she's looking quite big, and she's looking very healthy. I was a bit nervous with the molt because obviously I've had a few awful things go on in the last few months, but she was brilliant. She molted very, very quickly. She flipped over and didn't move for ages, and then the actual molting process was over and done with very, very fast. So she's molted. We have another female which is slightly smaller, and she's heavy pre-molt, so I'm looking at her molting very, very soon. I was going to pair her with the male, but unfortunately, because of how heavy pre-molt is, it just seems like a waste of time, especially if anything happens to the male. So I might as well let our bigger female harden up, and then maybe if the male is still doing okay and still looking as healthy as he is right now, then what I'll do is I will pair him again with the larger female first, because I know obviously she's able to produce sacs even though we've not had too much success. The thing about Avics is they're very calm as far as the pairings go, but obviously the fragility of the slings makes it a bit more awkward. Like, there's a lot of people who have trouble with the Avicularia and the Carabiner type species as slings, so it's a little bit like of a 50-50 thing. The very easy pairings, very quick pairings, very docile pairings, but obviously the fragility of the eggs and the slings and stuff like that, it does make it quite a little bit difficult. So I'm gonna try anyway again for a third time, and hopefully the male will still be okay for my other female. Anyway, let's have a look at these slings now. We're going to have a quick look. We're going to be feeding them some fruit flies. We've got a few fruit flies in there ready to go. We're going to have the macro lens out. We're going to have a look at some of these babies and see how they're getting on. So we'll spin the camera around and we'll have a little look. So this is the 9 slings we've got left, and I'm not sure if the camera's picking us up very well, but you can probably see they're looking at decent size. I mean, if that's my finger there, we'll take a lid off one of the larger ones that's seemingly in the middle, so I'm not going to destroy too much webbing. I mean, obviously I've got to take the lid off anyway, but so this is the size of the sling compared to my finger, and as you can see, they seem to be doing alright. They're webbing up quite nicely. They've got some fake foliage in here, water bowl, and they're looking pretty healthy. We'll get some close-up footage of these guys and show you what they're like. But what we're going to do is literally just give them a little bit of a water down, a bit quick mist, and feed them a handful, depending on how many we've got in here, of fruit flies before they start moving up to slightly larger prey items. We've actually got looks of it, a freshly malted one here. This is our number 17, which is a slightly smaller one. It's just malted. I'll check how hard that malt is compared to the spider. Probably give it a feed anyway, because at this size they don't take too long to harden up. So yeah, right, so we'll open these up, we'll get some fruit flies in. Not sure how much footage we're going to be able to see of these, but we'll show what we do. Literally just take off the lid, as you can see, tap some fruit flies in, and then obviously give their water bowl a little fill up and a couple of squirts on the misting on the side of the plastic, just so they've got something they can wander around and go and drink off the droplets if they want to. These are quite a dry spider, but as slings, obviously you still want to provide them moisture that they can get to. It's more about opening up the lids, letting the air exchange, making sure you've got ventilation around the sides with these things. It seems. This is only what I've experienced. It's not necessarily the right way, or what everyone would recommend, but for me personally, this is how I've kept them, and these ones seem to be doing quite well with that. And as you can see, I mean, looking at the actual slings, how cool are their feet, their little colorations, their abdomens, they're so cool. I mean, I know they change into a very dark black, but it's absolutely awesome to watch these guys feed and eat and stuff like that, and grow and change colours, and who doesn't like their black little boots, eh? Yeah, so that is these slings. They're awesome. And that was today's video. What did you think, guys? Obviously, I know it's not really too much news or anything else going on, but it's nice to have a little bit of focus on one of the spiders we've got going on here, one of the species. I think the babies are looking pretty good. It won't be too long before they probably have to move into the slightly larger 520 deli cups, because at the moment those 155s are brilliant. When we did pop them up originally, we had them in the sling vials, but I was advised that they need a bit more sort of aeration space, because they don't seem to do very well in the more confined areas, even as really, really small slings. So we moved them into those 155s. Now, if that's the case, then obviously once they molt again, I may move them into a much larger environment so that they have got a lot more ventilation, a lot more room to move around in, and we don't have to panic about moving them up and then moving them up again and this and the other, go straight to the 520s, which effectively would mean going from this cup to this cup, which, you know, is a good size difference. So anyway, if you did enjoy today's video, guys, please do give it a like. Let us know in the comments what you think of the Avics. I think they're one of my favourite spiders, to be honest with you. They're definitely in my top 5. They cause me a lot of stress, but they're brilliant spiders, absolutely brilliant. They're one of the spiders that, obviously, in this room, if they end up being handled because they like to wander, I'm not too worried about it. And they are one of the spiders that I have a bit of a closer relationship with because of that, I think, in my head anyway. But yes, leave a comment. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. And yeah, we'll catch up with you next week. Not sure what we're doing for a video next week, but as the Peterborough show is going to be this Sunday, maybe, if I go, which I probably will be, I'll get some footage of that and we can have a look and see what the show was like anyway next week. Alright, anyway guys, I'll catch up with you later. Thanks.